Promise you all today that technology will not deny you the wit and wisdom of one Mark Zinno, who is on the other line, Mark, as we look to back together again, look to deliver our brand of comedy and insight like only we can on this $5 Tuesday at WagerTalk.
And you all missed me take a big old dump on Canada yesterday, which is what the United States is going to do again on Thursday. Take a big old dump on Canada. So all my Canadian WagerTalk friends, your little brother.
I thought that was a good situation. That was good for hockey, man. I'll tell you what, spirits are. That game's going to do a pretty bit monster rating, I feel. I mean, who would have thought this Four Nations thing is a real winner? I like when it gets a little chippy between the countries, right? It's good. I'm not going to cast aspersions or dump on anyone like you. I know you take a lot of pride in your country, but I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be for a great TV.
USA. Okay, go back across your border there and go hang out with some moose.
I think they're already there. That's where they live.
You and just go away. Go away. Okay.
I'm going to Canada, by the way, over the summer. I have a trip planned, but I'll leave that for a different day. Okay.
What are you planning to grow reindeer or something?
No, not at all. Gonna hide. Although actually, I am gonna hide out in the wilderness, place where maybe you can't reach me by phone. But that's again, like I said, a different story, but for a different day.
Nonetheless, we are back on the track here. As much as I dislike Canada, I kind of dislike Arizona and Baylor as well. That didn't go well last night for me.
He's on pace for a while, but the scoring died down, and not even fouling could save you. But we do have 3 plays for you today. Very good college hoops card here on this Tuesday. Like I said, it is $5 Tuesday at WagerTalk.com. Mark and I will be talking about our $5 wagers in just a little bit. But Mark, you're going to start us off in a conference you love to talk about, the Big East. Marquette is hosting Seton Hall. Seton Hall coming off a shocking win over UConn. When we spoke over the weekend, I said, "Did you see Seton Hall just beat UConn?" You said, "What?" I said, "Seton Hall beat UConn." But surprised. You think they come back down to earth here, the old Pirates facing Marquette, although it's a big spread, so you've got a unique way to play it.
Well, look, I've taken advantage of Seton Hall being by far one of the worst Power 5 teams in America. I think you and I were talking about this yesterday. BC is the worst of the major conferences. Seton Hall's probably the second worst. And what I'm going to take advantage of here is the fact that the Seton Hall offense is the absolute worst in the Big East by a considerably wide margin. Let's look at the 2 other worst offenses in the Big East, because every other offense in the Big East, with the exception of these 3, are within the top 80 in offensive rating, in offensive adjusted efficiency in KenPom. We have DePaul at 154. We have Georgetown at 178. And then we have Seton Hall at 294. There are 364 Division I teams as measured by KenPom. And Seton Hall is in the bottom 70. This is a power program here. You're getting a Marquette defense that is 19th in adjusted defensive efficiency in the country. And they are going up against this offense, who, by the way, Seton Hall plays 338th in adjusted tempo, meaning very, very slow. All this adds up to Seton Hall not scoring and Marquette's defense doing all the heavy lifting here. Guys, I advise you, don't watch. Do not watch, because this is the kind of under you hate to sweat. When I looked at the game last night and looked at the total, I was hoping to get a 60, maybe a 59.5 for their team total for Seton Hall. It's 58.5. Don't watch. Just bet it and trust that Marquette is going to do what they need to do, and Seton Hall is going to not have any offense in this game whatsoever. So Seton Hall, team total under 58.5. Marquette Golden Eagles do what they need to do on the defensive end, and I don't think Seton Hall has much in the tank tonight, as, again, they are one of the worst teams in all of college basketball.
Marquette, their last 4 games, they've been ice cold from 3, Zinno. So probably need to rely on that defense. As a matter of fact, last 4 games, hold on, I said they've been ice, so they'll have to rely. They can't rely on the 3. I thought I clicked. That was very clear. I said, hey, they're not shooting the 3 well, so they need to rely on their defense to win. I think, could I have made that more clear? Would you like me to sign it to you? Would you like me to speak it in a foreign language, perhaps? Here's the bottom line.
Stop tree-topping me. Just let my handicap sit on its own. It was fine. Everybody got the point.
I wanted to add something. Okay, there you go. Speaking of tree topping. Anyway, last 4 games, Marquette's 0-4 against the spread. They're 27% from 3. That includes 4 for 25 in the game against Seton Hall when they faced him. But Mark Zinno says, do not worry about that 3-point shooting. Marquette is going to dominate defensively. Seton Hall team total under. Smash that like button if you agree. Speaking of crazy shooting, Mark, I now present to you this Purdue Michigan State matchup, which we've got big one in the Big Ten, and Purdue has to be asking what happened after a 94-84 home loss to Wisconsin on Saturday, where Wisconsin shot a blistering 61.5% for the game, including 18 of 25, 72% in the second half. I know you loved it, Mark. You had the over in that game. I believe it cashed with 5 minutes left to go. No sweat winner there. Now, if you're Purdue, you obviously did not like it. You had to be wondering what happened. Our opponents can't miss, and it makes it back-to-back losses for the Boilermakers. Remember, my $5 best bet last Tuesday was fading Purdue at Michigan. They lost that one close. Now, elsewhere on Saturday, Michigan State, okay, while Purdue's opponent was shooting the lights out, Michigan State could not have asked for a more polar opposite second half because they were on the road at Illinois, and Sparty was able to overcome a 16-point deficit. How did they do that? Well, they closed the game on a 15-0 run as the Fighting Illini, Zinno, get this, Fighting Illini missed their last 19 shots from the field. That's quite different than Wisconsin shooting 72%. So to summarize, you got a situation where one team saw their opponent go 72% from the field in the second half. The other team saw its Saturday opponent miss its final 19 shots. Can we all say regression to the mean? Also, I mentioned Purdue's now dropped back-to-back games. Just the second time that's happened all season. After the first time, they won their next game by 19, admittedly against Toledo. So I like this as a buy low spot on the Boilermakers. It's a letdown spot, too, for Michigan State, right? After Tom Izzo breaks the Big Ten record for most all-time conference wins, keep an eye out for Trey Kaufman-Renn. 5 straight 20-plus point games for Purdue. I like the Boilermakers plus the points in this one.
Yeah. The Big Ten, again, is getting increasingly tight across the board. A lot of these matchups are getting tougher and tougher to figure out when you look at the way things are breaking down, especially as you get more towards the end of, conference play and into conference tournaments here. This is a Purdue team that grades out really well on both ends of the floor. And it's almost like I feel like they should be better, but they've got some questionable losses. But this is a big spot for them here. And again, Michigan State, they can't shoot the three, and it may be the death of them come the conference tournament and the NCAA tournament. You got to be able to make threes, and they can't make any of them. And they're going to end up having a game where they're just going to end up like, 2 for 14 or 2 for 16 from three, and it's ultimately going to lose by a 3 or 4 point game. That's going to be the end of their season.
We've talked about 3-point shooting, and I don't even want to get into the Campbell fighting Camels. We joked about them on Friday, and I said regression is coming with their 3-point defense. Wouldn't you know, Delaware shoots what, 60% from 3 in the game at Saturday? Campbell still wins. Campbell still wins, even though the regression came. That was crazy. Michigan State, you're right. To your point, they are dead last. No, not dead last. They are third worst in the Big Ten in 3-point shooting at 32%, but that's counteracted by the fact they are number 1 in 3-point defense, 27%. So nobody makes threes when Michigan State plays.
They had the 11th worst 3-point shooting in the nation.
Yeah.
In the nation. Like again, they make up for it at the free throw line. They're one of the top free throw shooting teams in the country. It's just, again, you're going to walk into a game when you play on Michigan State where you have to account for the fact that they are just not going to be able. One, that makes it tough to catch up when you can't make threes, right? If you're down, it's really hard to catch up because you need to force a lot of turnovers and get a lot of empty possessions from the other team. And 2, again, it's just one of those things where, you're making it very, very difficult to be able to beat a team when you are that poor from 3-point range. So it's a tough team to figure out, but defensively they're really good, and it's Tom Izzo in March if you believe that that's a thing.
I don't.
No.
Purdue plus 3.5. All right.
I hope you're not saying
$5
by tomorrow.
I'm not saying Purdue. You mentioned tree topping earlier, Mark Zinno. You're near the top of the tree in college hoops. I know that you were very sad about the Arizona Baylor total, but you're going to dust yourself off and try again, as they say. I know you got something locked and loaded
I
for
do.
today, and it's just $5. Talk
I
to me.
do. Hey guys, look, the $5 Tuesdays, if you've been following this show, 18-6 dating back to college football season on Tuesday. I don't know what it is about Tuesday. We've had a good run. We have a 4% play in college hoops tonight. Bryan Power approved it. He looked at the game, said I approve. So I got the seal of approval that I needed from Bryan Power. And yeah,
That's all you look for on the phone.
that's all I look for. Yep, that's it. I mean, you can't have a rally without a rally burger. Okay. And that's what we know.
Person you call every day looking for a seal of approval. What is the story of your life?
When I see that pick, by the way, WT.buzz/MZ, obviously for the $5 play. But when I see that Bryan Power picture of you holding the ball, yes, you know what? That makes me want baseball season back, because when you talk about the rally burger at Progressive Field, I feel like we need to have a Bryan Power under at Progressive Field coming up very soon. And I'm very excited that baseball is on its way back.
Yes, I think my next in-person under will be one of my favorite sporting events of the year, the MAC tournament semifinals. I always go to that every year. Hopefully, Ohio University is one of the 4 teams. WT.buzz/BP, you will find my $5 best bet. I did not have a client play yesterday. I passed on a short card, but I do have a 4% play up now for sale. 7-2 run in college hoops. I did lose on Sunday with Ohio State against Michigan because all Michigan does is play close games. However, did have a big 5% winner over the weekend on Texas. I was 3-0 last Tuesday, Mark, if you recall, including a $5 best bet on Michigan against Purdue, the aforementioned Purdue. All right, we got all that out of the way. It is now time for our show best bet. And after much deliberation, Mark Zinno, you and I have come to a consensus. I'm not going to like what you have to say. This is a play we agree on. I should like what you're going to say.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just going to tell you that you're not going to like it. Tell people what the play is.
All right. Okay. Well, our best bet is Arizona State in the first half plus 6.5. I assumed, as I kicked it to Mark Zinno, he would say things that I would agree with, but apparently he has gone rogue and has other ideas and is, I don't know, going to tell you why you should not make this bet. What are you doing here? I thought we had agreed this is going to be a potentially flat spot for Houston coming off the big win against Arizona. Yes, Houston has the nation's longest road win streak at 11 in a row. What, am I going to win them all? Well, please enlighten me. What am I not going to like that you're going to say? Has Arizona State, have they kidnapped my family and I'm unaware of that?
No. Again, I mean, I've said repeatedly on this show over the past, 5-6 days, past week, the cream is rising to the top, right? The good teams are starting to separate from the bad teams. And the gap between those two is getting very, very big. Well, the good team in this case is Houston. And the bad team in this case is Arizona State. And what we need here is Arizona State, who is a good 3-point shooting team, to be able to do that at home. And that's really what this whole handicap resides on. And we just sat there and talked about 3-point shooting. Arizona State, 81st in the country in 3-point shooting at 35.7%. That number's up closer to 38% when they are at home this year. But that's really where this whole handicap lies, is that Arizona State comes out early and they are making shots and they are making Houston play to the tempo of which they normally do, which is deathly slow. Because, again, if Arizona State is missing shots early, Houston can get out and make shots on the offensive end. And it's not a good recipe. But it's like I always say, if they're not covering early, they're not covering late here. And I wouldn't trust Arizona State against Houston for 40 minutes in this game. If it's one of those games where Arizona State is staying within a number for the entire 40 minutes, that means Houston's in danger of losing the game outright. And I just don't think that's going to be the case here. So what you have to hope for is that Arizona State hangs around early and then Houston pulls away in the second half when it happens. This is very similar to what we looked at with Duke and Virginia last night, right? You needed Virginia to just play their best defensive half against Duke and keep it close. It didn't happen. It didn't happen. So this one could get away from us early, but situationally here, this is a spot where Arizona State, is the play from a situational standpoint. Better hope they make their threes. Better hope that Houston misses early and keeps it close. and then after halftime gets it together. But again, full game, I wouldn't bet Arizona State. I just don't think they don't have catch up ability on offense, and I don't think that they are very good, all things considered, on the offensive end, comparatively speaking, to the rest of the Big 12 counterparts. So let's just hope this situation works out in our favor here.
Well, despite that tepid endorsement, Arizona State plus 6.5 in the first half is our show best bet. Certainly a Mark Zinno. I don't know what, I talked to the man a half hour ago before we pressed record. He said, all right, Arizona State first half, that should be our show best bet. We then go live on the air here for this recording, and then he tells you why maybe that play's not so good. What an interesting individual you are.
Live on air for recording because you're not live.
I regretted it after I said it. By the way, American, Canadian, I don't care where you're from. You can't leave your dog outside in these frigid Cleveland conditions right now where it's barking and distracting me from doing my job. My neighbor did that. I'll be honest. He doesn't. I don't think my neighbor watches the show. If he does, I apologize. I'm calling you out on the airwaves.
I'd call animal control.
It's very cold here. My dog couldn't last 5 minutes. It's 7 inches of snow.
Right now. I'm getting hosed. It's 55 degrees in Florida right now. I'm in a sweatshirt.
Yeah, I'm looking at the. I'm looking at the. I get that it's Florida. I'm looking at the bottom left of my computer right now. It says 9 degrees.
It's a bit nipply.
Yeah, it's cold, and there's 7 inches of snow.
That sounds.
And a dog is barking.
That sounds miserable.
It's not great. I don't plan on going. I don't plan on going outside very long.
Why don't you move?
Today. It's like a lot of work.
Which is the exact opposite of what you specialize in, work.
But I'm always talking to you. I don't have time to move. Anyway.
I do occupy a lot of your time. Your wife is very gracious as she allows me to take a lot of your time. Yes, but my kids will be in the car with me and say, Dad, call Bryan Power, because they just want to talk to Bryan Power.
Yes. I think my daughter saw the video. She said, oh, that's Mark Zinno. That's who you talk to all the time. Yes, it is. Yeah. All right. We're done talking for today. And the dog is thankfully done barking. And
oh God,
she is perhaps not done eggplanting. Take that for what you will. But it is $5 Tuesday. Please go to WT.buzz/MZ, WT.buzz/BP for those respective winners. You're playing 4% play, Mark. I apologize if you made that clear earlier. Right? 4%
play.
Same here.
On Tuesdays. By the way, if I didn't mention, comment below. This is the best show way to talk. There you go.
We always like when you say nice things about us. All right. Until next time, guys, let's cash the tickets. Mark Zinno, cash his tickets. Always.